How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have Circadia back with us again. Say his name and what he does in the band.
Yeah, I'm Nathan James. I am the founder, creator, singer, songwriter.
There we go. Well, Nathan, thank you for coming on again. It's been a couple of years since I think I had you on last. And I imagine a lot has changed during that time period, but um, I did I did see, and I don't know if this is correct or not, but I know your wife is a part of the project now, if I'm not mistaken. So how did that kind of come to be? And I guess the what was the thought process behind that, and incorporating your wife into the music now?
Yeah, she joined the band in January of 2021,
Okay.
um, shortly after a lot of the really difficult times in the pandemic, simply because, um, I really wanted her to be involved because previous relationships I was in, it was just kind of like a toxic back and forth of like, you know, uh, you're either choosing music or me. You can't do both. And like, I didn't want that kind of relationship anymore. And I met her shortly after our first record came out, believe it or not.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, and she expressed equally as much of a passion for music, and she really enjoyed Circadia. So uh, we decided to work together as a couple in it. So.
There you go. And was that when you had brought that up to her? Was she excited to join the project and obviously you know give her like musical input into the band?
Yeah, definitely. It puts a different spin on things. It makes it that much more interesting. She enjoys a lot of the same music as me, but at the same time, her primary preference is drastically different. But it's also a great selection, so it
Sure.
works out well.
There we go. Well, obviously, best of luck going further with that. And then, as well as that, you came on here obviously because it sounds like you're going to be releasing new music soon. How has that process been? And could you spill any beans on what's going to be coming out soon?
The process has been a lot of fun. It's been a little grueling, as
Sure.
every release is,
Yeah, I can imagine.
especially when you're doing everything yourself and with one other person.
Hmm.
But like instead of having like a full 5 6 piece band recording with you, um, but the new record is called Built from Heartache.
Okay.
It is the sequel to our first record, Seeking Completion. Seeking Completion is essentially the overarching short story meaning behind the record is looking for love in all the wrong places,
Okay.
essentially. Looking for completion, admiration, love, hopefulness, all in status, money, etc., etc. Built from Heartache is more of talking about, okay, we fell through some really hard times. How do we get out of it? How do we build? How do we
Hmm.
excel where we are now? So we're really looking forward to it. It should be coming out this summer,
Nice.
which we're
Okay.
very excited. We just recently released our seventh single. However, Mend is not a part of the Built from Heartache record. It
Oh
is on its
wow.
own.
Okay. What made you kind of go through that process of releasing it on his own as a part of, instead of releasing it along with the album? Was that something you guys had thought about and you just thought maybe it just didn't work with the thought process of the album, or you just wanted to release it and have something new for people to kind of, you know, latch on to and listen to?
Yeah, definitely wanted to have something new, but also 'cause we did release 6 singles off the record itself. And I know a lot of bands are doing the kind of thing nowadays where they release almost the entire album as singles. I
Hmm.
didn't actually want to do that. I was very particular and was like, nope, no more than just under half the album. There are 13 songs total, and I didn't
Hmm.
want to release half of the record as singles because like you want people to have something to look forward to on the album, not
Sure.
just
Yeah.
songs they've already heard. So that was part of the thought process. Mend actually fits very well with the theme of the record However, I just that was the main reason we decided to have it on its own. Another reason was because this is the first time we ever had the privilege of featuring a signed touring artist on a song. His name is Josh Bramlett. He sings for a band called The Protest.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of them.
I have not. No.
They're a great, awesome hard rock band from the Indiana area,
Okay.
and yeah, he his voice fits well with mine. Polar opposite singers, but it just worked out well. So
And how did that come to be? Obviously, I know with features, the prospect of adding someone else onto the song can either be, a very easy process or a little bit more daunting, certainly. But, how did you guys kind of get in contact? And, obviously, how did you go about that process of, having him feature on Mend?
yeah, it's oddly enough, a lot of people don't realize all it takes is simply asking. Because like
Yeah.
I sent them an email to their band email, had them listen to one of our tracks called "A Lasting Impression" to see if they like it.
Hmm.
Ironic.
Yeah.
Um, and they ended up really loving it. And Josh was like, "I'd be honored to be a part of this." And I kind of fangirled a little bit because I
Sure.
really
Sure.
like their
Yeah.
music. So, so that was really cool, and him and I have started to become closer friends ever since, which is super cool. Like they're definitely a larger band than we are, but they're nowhere near like Taylor Swift or Foo Fighters big or anything like that
Sure.
yet.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine the kind of money it would take to feature one of those two.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, yeah. I can only imagine that being, probably a pretty expensive process. But obviously, glad it worked out, and you're able to get a really cool feature. I did check it out before we hopped on, and I thought it was very good. I hadn't listened to some Circadia stuff in a little bit, if I'm being honest, and I went back and obviously, since I knew I was gonna be having you on, wanted to give that a listen. But yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. I think Josh adds a nice, vocal kind of, as you said, it's very different. But I think it works well within the confines of the song. So definitely a good feature to have on, and obviously, I hope you have more. But the next question I have for you, Nathan, is, obviously, since you have a new album coming out, do you happen to have a favorite off of the new release that isn't out yet, but you're excited for people to listen to?
Yeah, my first favorite song on the record is already released. It's called
Oh,
"Determined."
okay, nice.
Um, and "Determined" calls me out on my own bullcrap. That's one of the reasons it's my favorite. Because I, for the longest time, had this mindset of like, I'm so mad that I'm not touring over 200 days a year and making a living as a band yet. I'm so mad that this isn't happening. Woe is me, that type of mindset. And it's basically saying take a deep breath, leave the rest. Like you're determined to know what the future will hold, but there's hope. Like basically just chill and let it run its course.
Sure, yeah,
Essentially.
I feel that. Yeah.
um so that's my favorite song on the record. My second favorite, well, they're tied. Hope for the Hollow's tied as well. That is also released, but there is a song on the record close to the end of the record. It is called "Keep Sakes for Pete's Sakes."
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I'm very excited because this is the most "A Day to Remember" influenced song on the album. Um, so it's very high energy and just makes you want to throw down with some hardcore dancing, and it's fun. But at the same time, it's got this happy hardcore feel, but
Okay.
it's still
Yeah.
got that Circadia synthy vibe. Um, and the song is essentially about don't put material things over people or God. Is basically what it's about.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely cool. I'll have to keep my eye out for that one. And then in regards to, you talked about a good point about sound. Do you feel like, since the last time we talked, I know you're kind of, again, I feel like sound wise, you're kind of like, taking a lot of electronic influences. I feel like there's definitely some like rock and like hard rock influences. Do you feel like, with this new album, you were able to kind of expand upon that sound a little bit more and go into maybe different territory? Or did you kind of try to hone in more on the Circadia sound and like, allow that to kind of grow over time?
You try to incorporate both because, at least with me, I don't want to produce the same exact thing as I did last time.
Sure. Yeah.
But also, you don't want it to be so drastically different that people think you're a completely different band. I've noticed quite a few artists have done that recently, and it's lost a lot of original fans. I don't necessarily ever want to do, not that we have a huge sea of fans anyway, but like,
Sure. Yeah.
um, we definitely have a lot of our original roots. Determined is probably one of the most synth based songs on the record. Um, it does have electric guitar and it does have real drums, but everything else is synth. So that I thought was pretty cool. Um, yeah, there's a lot of different influence. Like in Keepsakes, "A Day to Remember" is heavily influenced in that song.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, there are so many different influences, like some Billy Joel influences,
Hmm.
some Pink Floyd influences, um, as well as pop punk, like maybe Blink 182 vibes.
Okay.
All it's low key all over the place, but not in a bad way. It all came together rather well.
That's interesting. I'll be like I said. I think with the last release, I was very curious to see how far you kind of take the sound, and it almost feels like now you're trying to, you know, enjoy the sound that you've created with the previous release, and then just kind of allowing yourself to grow as an artist. And obviously, I'm sure adding your wife into the mix, and allowing that to kind of show her skills and talents as well. I think that also will probably wind up altering that sort of sound as well. So very curious to see what's going to be going down with that. And then in terms of the like song material itself, was most of that stuff written within the like past couple years, or when was the kind of time frame of when you guys were formulating this new album coming out?
Yeah, it was a mixture of both. I have we have a fair amount of songs that were written quite a while ago.
Hmm.
I think the earliest one dates back to like 2017, maybe 2016.
Okay.
And then there were some that were actually completely rewritten from a really old song from when
Wow.
I was in high school.
Wow. All right.
And we just like the new way. So like we kept the melody but changed the lyrics in its entirety, and it
Hmm.
worked out well. Um, Pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and how does that kind of process begin, going through older songs? I feel like for myself, I can look at some of my older catalog of interviews and be like, this is crazy. Like, some of the older ones that I had done, and how much that has changed over those time frames. But when going back to some of the older songs that you worked on, and just kind of maybe didn't, maybe right place, right time kind of situation. But how do you go about that process of looking at an older song that you have worked on before, and then thinking that it might be a good opportunity to either like redo it, or take some of the bones of the track and just kind of, you know, be a little bit more modern with your approach on that.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's well, sometimes, at least for me, when you look at a song you wrote when you were like 19,
Hmm.
and I think to myself, this is truly terrible. Why did I ever write this?
That's fair.
But
Yeah.
then but then you remember how to play it and you're like, the tune is actually really good and catchy. I can work with this. Um, so I think a while back in one of my previous interviews with you, I mentioned most often my writing process starts with an album title and then a track title.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, so I kind of went with that same method. One of the songs off the record is more, it wasn't that the song was terrible, it's just that the message didn't flow with where I am now,
Sure. Yeah.
because it was a much darker message. And then I rewrote it to be a song about my wife, which I love her dearly.
Yeah.
Um, so that turned out to be a very impactful message for myself, and I think others will think so as well. One of the other ones, um, it was just really cheesy, and I turned it into something that's not cheesy anymore. At least that I think.
I'm sure we'll find out.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. Like I think it's like when you look at it from an outside perspective, or a bird's eye view of this types of material you've created over the years, and going back, it almost feels like a time capsule moment where you're like writing it in a specific time, in a certain headspace, and maybe like you said, lyrically, it might not line up with where you're at, but musically, you're like, I could work with this. This is something that, might be a little bit, might be a work in progress in that aspect, but, is something that you feel like is good enough to, end up on a Circadia song. So I feel like when any band kind of goes through some of the back catalog, I'm always curious as to why maybe they don't just write a new song, or, some of the thought process that goes behind that. So it's cool that you're taking some older songs that you've written, 5, 10, 15 years ago, in that way. So it's always
Yeah.
cool to see where those songs are at. And is there any song that is on the album currently that you felt like had gone through the most changes from, the original start of, getting prepared to release the new album to, where it is now?
Oh yeah, definitely. The Probably the one of our singles and is currently our actually most popular song, "Hope for
Nice.
the Hollow."
Okay.
Um, like I always had the melody and the lyrics basically down pat because I had
Mhm.
already been playing the song for since like 2017 or so. But how it turned out was absolutely nothing like how I originally thought it would.
Hmm.
And it's like instrumentally and full band wise, it just took a completely different turn, but it was for the better. And I thought that was just super cool to see it morph into what it is. That's one thing that I really like about the studio and the company I go through, Newkirk Productions, because I can go in there, for lack of a better way to say it, unprepared, and wing something completely, and it still turns out awesome, and it doesn't cost me an arm and a leg. So
There you go. That's always good.
yeah.
And I do feel like, with um some of the songs that I had listened to, went back and listened to some, old songs for old time's sake, certainly. And it's cool to see how much of a progression you have made as an artist. Always find that for myself, anytime I interview people, especially people that have come on before, and it's always cool to see that kind of growth that you see, with the artists I have on. I try to keep tabs on everyone I have on, but obviously can't get to everybody all at once. But it was nice kind of going through some of the back catalog and listening to some of the older stuff that you've released, or checked out some of the old interviews we've done, and seeing how much of a difference in terms of in terms of sound and songwriting. And I do feel like, adding your wife into the mix, and changing it up even that much more, I think there's going to be some cool songs that I hope that will show up later on. Has there been any sort of writing process with you and your wife with writing that sort of material, like just brand new material, or has it just been kind of like, again, finding some of those older songs that you have been sitting on and trying to like rework them now?
Yeah, the one her and I, there are two that her and I sing on together.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Um, so that's something you'll get to hear. Um, the one that I wrote about and for her is one of them. It is called "The Commitment,"
Nice. Okay.
and it's that took a decent amount of practice and reworking and making it what we're really proud of and happy with. That was one of the ones that was rewritten from a dark negative mindset,
Hmm.
lyrically to this "I love my wife very much" type message, or spouse in general, because we
Sure.
both sing on it. So that was really cool to see kind of transform into what it is. Um, on this specific record, I don't think there are any brand new songs that we didn't rewrite or were already written in the late teens or something like
Mhm.
that. Nonetheless, to everyone else, they're brand new songs.
Yes.
So
That's fair, that's fair. Well, hopefully down the line there will be some, like, of a collaborative, more of a collaborative effort, starting from ground zero. I think that would be really cool
mhm,
to compare that type of song to, some of the songs that you've reworked, just because I feel like having, two brains kind of coming up with two different, thought processes on where the song should go or how it should be, would be an interesting thought. So curious if that's
definitely.
something down the line, I imagine. But um,
Indeed, it is.
the next question I have for you, Nate, is what are you currently listening to? What have you been jamming recently?
Um, Primarily, it has actually been Demon Hunter.
Nice.
Um,
Okay.
they are. I don't know if you actually knew they're my all-time favorite band.
I did not know. I
They
kind
are.
of guessed, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, yeah. We got to see them last year for the first time in over a decade, so that
Nice.
was really awesome. Um, and their newest album called Exile is fire. Um, so I would recommend checking that out. But I also listen to a lot of Owl City. Just dropped a record called Coco Moon.
Hmm. Okay.
I've only gotten through the first four songs, but it's really good so far. They are actually a heavy influence of ours, evidently.
Nice. Okay.
Um, Trying to think what else. We enjoy Shinedown a lot. Their
Nice.
newest record,
Hmm.
Planet Zero, is unreal. It's super good. We hope to see them live this year.
There we go. Well, sounds like a good list. If you guys haven't checked out any of those bands, go give them some love. But the next question I have for you, Nate, is what is your Mount Rushmore of bands? Like, if you could just put four people on your Mount Rushmore, what are some of the bands that would be on that?
Oh, interesting. I don't know if I've gotten this question before. Evidently, from what I said before, Demon Hunter.
Yes, yeah, again assumed as much, but didn't want to
Yeah.
take the words out of your mouth.
Um, I would have to say Shinedown.
Nice. Okay.
Um, mm, so many good ones. Tough choice. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think of a female fronted band that I love.
Hmm. Okay.
Uh, there's a lot of those too. Um, Gosh. Oh, well, let's go with my guilty pleasure, Shania Twain.
Nice. All right.
Yes, absolutely.
You got one more.
I'm quite the big fan of hers. Um, and for King and Country.
Nice. All right. I wouldn't have expected that one. That seems a little bit out there, but I like it. Hey, that's what makes everyone different is the types of music they like. So definitely a good one.
Yeah.
Um, the next question I have for you, Nate, is a personal favorite of mine. Been asking this a lot in my interviews that I've done recently, but what I obviously love interviewing bands. This is something that's really important to me and a large portion of my life. But why is music such an integral part of your life? Thank you. Why do you continue to get drawn to it? Why is it an important aspect to both you and your wife being in this project and wanting to create music?
Quite a lot of reasons. But most importantly, at least from our perspective as Circadia, would definitely be it's we feel like we have way too important of a message not to be shared with the world,
Sure.
which ultimately our mission statement as a band spells the word built. um,
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
which stands for be kind, use your gifts, inspire others, love unconditionally, and try your best. Um, we try our darnest to live by that every day, on and off stage, and we try for the lyrics to mean that as well, and to show that impactful hope that there is. What are you still with me? Okay,
Yes, I'm still here. Yeah,
my computer did something weird.
it's all right.
Anyway, but yeah, so like a message of hope and love, and is of utmost importance in this world, especially with all the darkness and negativity.
Sure. Agree.
Um, but also, other people's music just helps me get through the day every day. Um, I have everybody has had struggles, whether severe or minor, and um, the messages I often listen to in other people's music is of hope and love, and it's of utmost importance in this world. And it's just downright fun.
Yeah.
Um, if like I've learned from other touring artists that the most fun and passionate part about their job is that 30 minutes that they get to perform.
Oh yeah.
All the other time is legitimately hard work. But like if you don't absolutely love it, you're not going to last.
I would
So,
agree. Yeah. I feel like you gotta. I feel like you gotta do it because you enjoy doing it. You know, you're not doing it for any other reason than because you love doing it. You know that otherwise, I feel like it's pretty. I feel like it's pretty evident if you know that you aren't enjoying it. Like I feel like people know if you're not really invested in it. And I
mhm,
don't feel like I've met two, if not any people that aren't in music that don't love doing it. I think that's just kind of like obviously touring is a difficult thing and but I still feel like you said any time amount of time they get up on stage and they're able to do what they need to do, on stage and perform and stuff. Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity to, not only relieve that sort of stress that you might feel of the day, but as well as that, just being able to, invest in a community. So it's
mhm.
always a cool thing. And, obviously excited for what you guys are going to be doing next. But wanted to know, and I'm sure a lot of people will be asking, where can they find Circadia at? What you guys have coming up in the next couple months, and anything else you'd like to plug, Nathan?
Yeah, our music is on pretty much every streaming service: Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, Tidal, Deezer, the works.
Nice.
Um, there are multiple bands with the same name, I realized after the fact.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Um, to my knowledge, we are the only Circadia still producing music regularly. Um, but you can find us under Circadia Music OH, or just type in our album title, Seeking Completion, or Hope for the Hollow, and it'll come right up. Um, Facebook, Circadia Sound, SoundCloud, um, Instagram, Circadia OH Music. Yeah,
There we go. Well, like I said, Nathan and his wife have a new album coming out. Definitely go check that out if you are interested. Make sure to go give them a follow on social media. That'll all be linked down below. Also link the YouTube channel so you'll have an easier time hopefully accessing that. Because I know I have found a little bit of struggle trying to find the YouTube channel. So want to try to hope everybody checks it out. So I'll leave links for that down below. If you enjoyed
thank
this
you.
interview, share it, like it, subscribe. It goes a long way. And huge thanks to Nate for coming on again. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.